So it is always a joy to celebrate our graduates. This is an extra jumbo year. The ceremony honors 3 years of GSE graduates. On May 20th, 2020, I sent a letter to the 2020 graduates and their families saying the in-person ceremony would have to be canceled because of the then novel coronavirus. I told the students then that we would eventually see them on campus, and so we are. We have with us 67 graduates from the 2020 class. $18 from the 2021, and 128 from this year. Bottom line is, we're going to be here for a while. So to help us settle in, let's applaud one another so we can get started. So in addition to all of you here, on Friday we held the ceremony for the undergraduate students minoring and honoring in education. And the room was overflowing with undergraduates, grandparents, siblings, and friends cheering these students on. This was a stunning sight. It made me remember the days when parents would tell their children, I sacrificed so much so you could go to Stanford in education, and you might as well have gotten a degree in English literature if you weren't planning to make any money. But there they were, all those undergraduates. So parents and spouses, I want to use this address to assure you that getting a graduate education is the right decision. The primary reason is that right now is the time to be an education profession. It's not once in a generation chance to make a difference, it's once in a lifetime. It may be once in a century. So before describing what has changed and trying to convince you, let me briefly describe what has not about education. We've always known that learning is one of the single most important levers available for improving the human condition. The degree of a person's learning is associated with just about every positive outcome that you might care about. Income, health, democracy, longevity, happiness. So parents with the knowledge and means will go to incredible lengths to educate their children, both in school and out. For parents without means, the stakes are very high. Children who do not finish high school are 64 times more likely to end up in prison than college graduates. So education is not only an investment by parents, it's an investment by society for society. So, what is different now? I think it's the chances of making significant improvements, and there are 3 things on the horizon. The first is there's game changers in the kinds of things and methods we can use to improve education. One game changer is research. So currently, education is dominated by homemade remedies that were handed down from generation to generation. For instance, once upon a time, somebody must have just made up the idea of a word problem. Like after the chapter, we'll have a word problem. Here they are, they're everywhere. They're just handed down from generation to generation. There's no special evidence that word problems are the best way to learn, although I can hear many of you saying, well, I was taught this way and I turned out just fine. Right, that's not enough. So there's been a change in the nature of educational research and education. The new research is targeting root causes for why students may or may not learn, rather than starting from homemade remedies and accepting them. This makes it easier to develop targeted solutions that can improve learning outcomes for all, particularly those most in need. So as graduates of the GSE, you've had a chance to see what the leading edge of what will continue to follow. So that's number 1, is the research. The second game changer is data, which is finally flowing in education. So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the data we had to work with was attendance, grades, and standardized tests. It's changed. Now we have moment-to-moment problem solving across 500,000 students, and we can join data from early childhood to 25 years later in their income. So the data can finally support continual improvement. You do some innovation in your school, and you get no evidence of whether it's good or not. And so you convince yourself it's good. Now we have data so you can improve and see where you need to get better. The third game changer is for technology, which I hardly need to mention given what happened during COVID. But I wanted to share something for our LDT students. So just in case you have this sort of mentality, it's interesting to note that a decade ago, there were no educational technology startups that had reached unicorn status. Now there are 54 educational technology startups with valuations over $1 billion. That's what it means to be a unicorn. Go do it, and don't forget us when you're done. Now for the second reason that the time is now. The public is finally paying attention, and there's a growing mandate to do something. There's an unprecedented amount of public dollars being committed to education. At the start of COVID, personally, I was appalled that I could not get anybody's attention about the children in the schools. I appreciated the imperative to worry about jobs, but we could all see the educational ship sinking as each school district scrambled to help keep its children afloat. Fast forward, and people are paying attention now. So we've all felt our own frustration and slow motion powerlessness in the face of COVID, racism, gun violence, political chaos. People, and not just us, are coming to recognize that we can only thrive if we play the long game. And the long game is education. When I think about sustainability, I think about making people who can sustain their own future. So as educators, we can help people learn about difficult histories, learn how to separate fact from fiction, learn about our communities and our responsibilities, learn how to talk to one another, and learn how to prepare for a dynamic future. So this brings me to the third thing that makes now the right moment, and this is you, the graduates. You've been learning about education amidst the turmoil of the past several years. You know we need to do something, and you can do it. I know you're already committed to this work. I've seen it in the projects carried out here at the school. There's so much activity going on. I thought I'd share with the parents and families two nice examples. One is when COVID first hit and schools closed, a group of GSE students banded together with peers across campus, and they made a digital map of the Bay Area to show where families could pick up school lunches. This was a heroic thing, meet the moment. Another handful of students started a group called Building an Anti-Racist GSE. And what they do is they meet with faculty to provide syllabus consultations to help them incorporate more diverse voices. So this was an important thing to do. So these are just some of the examples of the extraordinary commitment you all have shown to education while at Stanford. So now is the time for you to make education what it can and should be. Improving education is a public service. It can feel Sisyphusian. You're pushing the rock up the hill only to have it roll back down. Right now, we're at a place where you'll push the rock to a new plateau, so when it rolls back, it will still be higher than ever before. Of course, pushing the rock is exhausting, and a graduate degree is definitely a lot of rock pushing, let alone doing much of it masked or on Zoom or just not knowing what would be next. So families, if your student decides to take a couple of weeks off, please understand and rest assured that GSE students get jobs. They all get jobs. They will thrive and make a difference that we all counted on when we admitted them to Stanford, namely advancing the greatest undertaking of humanity, educating all its children to be the stewards of their own future. So let us applaud the graduates. So parents, now that I have explained why a career in education is timely and important and you will get employed, I will share that there's a downside to a career in education, which you as parents have all experienced. In education, all the people you teach and get to know so well leave you behind to go into the world. And this is a bittersweet fact about being an educator. So students, while we celebrate the fact that you are commencing, don't forget to reach back sometime and let us know how you are doing. We like to take pride in what you do and become. I would like one more applause for the future selves you become and for what you gained from and brought to the school, the faculty, and one another while you were here. Thank you. Very good. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our rock star speaker. This is Professor Arnetha Ball. So Arnetha can whip up a crowd. And she can do it when it's appropriate as well as when it's inappropriate. She has special skills. She's patiently waited for 2 years to be on this podium in front of you. So I'm going to make my introduction brief. Arnetha is the Charles E. Ducoman Professor, Education Emerita at the GSE. She's an accomplished scholar on urban education, race, and language. She was there before everyone else. She helped found one of our most popular doctoral programs. Let's hear it from our Ryle students. She holds many awards and honors. She's president of important groups, but I'll mention one honor that she shares with you. She's an alum of the GSE. Yes. And she's reaching back to let us know how it's going. So Arnetha, the stage is yours. Welcome back.
Thank you for that introduction, Dan. It's a great honor to be here before you with parents, friends, family, fellow classmates, and our distinguished faculty. As I attempt to share a few thoughts with you today, I'm reminded of the ancient King Solomon, whom some say is one of the wisest persons who ever lived. He once said, "Get wisdom, and in all thy getting, get understanding." Today I stand before you, the graduating classes of 2020, 2021, and 2022, knowing that you have gotten the knowledge that Stanford had to offer, which Webster defines as accumulated skills or information, philosophic and scientific knowledge. Yes, you've gotten a great deal of knowledge and some wisdom too. The ability to figure out what is true and what is right, and to have the common sense to know how to use your knowledge. Notice that Solomon goes on to say, "But in all thy getting, get understanding." That is, having the intelligence, the knowledge, the experience, and the inspiration to know and to comprehend, to apply it. Then you gain the wisdom to do what is right. Having been the doctoral graduation speaker for the centennial graduating class of 1991, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here standing before you once again in this place. To give a few words to you, to share a little knowledge, a little understanding, and a little wisdom. The first thing I'd like to say is congratulations, classes of 2020, 2021, and 2022. Congratulations! Congratulations on your accomplishment. You are graduating from one of the greatest institutions in the world, and I trust that your degree from Stanford will serve you well. For it bears witness to the reality that you are indeed extraordinary. You've endured long nights of studying. You've met some seemingly impossible deadlines, and you've weathered many storms. You've weathered cultural and political divides, and you've endured a worldwide pandemic. And now your graduation day has come. And I'm reminded of the words of Amanda Gorman when she said, "You've braved the belly of the beast. And you've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And you've learned that time alone will not correct all evils. It takes a lot more." And somehow you, the graduating classes represented here today, you've endured. You're still standing. You made it through. And you've witnessed a nation that isn't quite broken, but certainly it is unfinished, particularly in the area of education. So you, the graduating classes represented here today, you must ask yourself a very important question. Given the knowledge, the understanding, and the wisdom that you've gained here at Stanford, what will you do with that knowledge? What part will you play in finishing the unfinished work facing education in this country and in the world? Now, that's a difficult question. In the short time that I have, I want to implore you to be smart. S-M-A-R-T. Now, I know you're thinking, you have a degree from Stanford GSE. Haven't you already proven yourself to be smart? But when I say smart, I'm thinking of an acronym that I will share with you now. It's an acronym that will help you to address some of the difficult questions that you will face in life. It will distinguish you in your career as educators. I want you to be S-M-A-R-T through uncharted territory which lies before you. The S in SMART stands for stewards. Throughout your career, please be stewards in this world. A steward is a person who looks after those around them, provides for them, guides them through a journey or task. As educators, you are all essential workers. Handle those in your care with compassion and kindness. Get to know your students. Really learn who they are. In his work, Brian Stevenson, author of Just Mercy, often reminds us that there is power in getting proximate to suffering and inequality, because proximity deepens our understanding. You need to be stewards who get proximate to issues of injustice and marginalization, for it is the only way that you will truly understand the social crises of today, of our times, and your understanding is the first step to problem solving. Then I want you to remember that the M in SMART stands for mentors. Mentors are a resource that will give you some good advice and some things to consider when difficult decisions must be made and when you're feeling uncomfortable about making those decisions. Search for a mentor. There is no stage in your career where you outgrow the need for a mentor. And also, you should be mentors to your junior colleagues. Don't wait one more day to start providing someone with mentorship. Pass on the resources and the critiques that you have received while you were here at Stanford. Next, I want you to remember that the A in SMART stands for audacious. I want each of you to dream audaciously. Dream an audacious dream for your career plans that inspire you and that inspires others. One that challenges you to have a vision that is generative, as explained in my model of generative change. One that challenges you to be agents of change rather than objects of change. Now, the R in SMART is the one that I really like because it stands for rebellious. Bell Hooks writes that education is about the practice of freedom. For our work and in your work, you should pursue meaningful social change while at the same time interrupting biases and rejecting practices and policies that disempower students, parents, and ultimately communities. And lastly, I want you to remember that the T in SMART reminds you to face the future with tenacity. Because the challenges facing education in our society today are not addressed sufficiently through mediocrity. As my colleague Patrick Kamanyang says, as teachers, and we are all teachers, as teachers, you must teach as if lives depended on it, because they do. He says you must agitate, you must arouse, you must inspire. In other words, be determined, be persistent, be passionate, and be tenacious. Building on what I've learned while applying SMART in my own career, there have been some uncomfortable times, but I could not let that discomfort cause me to lose focus or hope or my generativity. And today, I wish that for you. We are depending on you, not just to accumulate knowledge, but to be smart. And in order to do that, you're going to be uncomfortable sometimes. You're going to have to stay focused, stay hopeful, and stay generative in spite of the discomfort. And if you look out on the world and you see our students, our teachers, our schools, our society needs something that does not yet exist, then you're going to have to create it. And if there's something that has not been invented, then you are going to need to invent it. And I can say with confidence that I know that you can do it. Why am I so confident? It's because of people like Carla Poo, Gloria Latson-Billings, Paya Sokar, Claudio Susaki, and Selena Gray. Have you heard those names before? They are all graduates of the GSE, and they are smart graduates who saw a need in society, in education. They saw something that was needed, something that did not exist, and they went out there and they created it. Claudio Susaki, MA, MBA class of 2003, founded a pioneering company in Brazil. Claudio developed an adaptive learning platform that increased access and delivers customized learning plans and examinations to over 5 million students throughout his country. Claudio is a steward. Now, I know many of you are familiar with the groundbreaking work of Gloria Latson-Billings, but did you know that she is a graduate of the GSE, PhD class of 1984? Did you know that among her many accomplishments during her distinguished career as a professor of education, Gloria has consistently made the time to mentor junior scholars? I know that firsthand, and I know the profound impact that her mentorship has had because she's one of my mentors, and she's been a friend for 30 years. Then there was Paya Sokar, MA, MBA, class of 2006 and 2009. Paya came to Stanford at a time when the world was perplexed with another pandemic, the AIDS pandemic. Upon graduation from the GSE, Paya audaciously developed a culturally sensitive, animated, and interactive software through her nonprofit company known as Teach AIDS. Her software has changed the way HIV/AIDS prevention is taught around the world. It's been adopted in 82 countries, and it's available in 27 languages. Now, I know some of you will go to faraway places to make your contributions, but you don't have to go far to make major contributions. Take Selena Gray, for example. Selena, PhD class of 2014, she taught 7th grade science right nearby in Mountain View Middle School. She believes that every student in her classroom can and will succeed in school. And that, for many, is a rebellious and a revolutionary idea indeed. And finally, there's Carla Poo. Carla enrolled in the GSE because of her frustration with medical training. Upon graduation from the GSE, Carla tenaciously applied her new knowledge that she gained here in the GSE to develop innovative simulation devices that have transformed how physicians come to become doctors. Each of these graduates sat where you are sitting. So you come from good stock. And we are elated that you are sitting in those seats today. So don't be afraid to fail in your trying. You are destined to great things. And we are confident that you're just the right people to make this a better world. Ella Baker says, show people the light and they will find the way. We know that you've seen the light and that you see improvements that are needed. And we are confident that you are the right people to make those improvements. Now, if it hasn't been developed, remember, you need to develop it. And if it hasn't been created, then you need to go out there and create it. Go with confidence. Gain from the words of Margaret Mead, who said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Classes of 2020, 2021, and 2022, I humbly pass the future to you. I challenge you to go forth, dream big, be brave, be brilliant, be fearless, and be smart. To the classes gathered here today, you must, as Amanda Gorman says, strive to forge a union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all countries, colors, characters, and conditions of mankind. Remember that the new dawn will bloom as you free it. For there's always light, if only you're brave enough to see it, and if you're only brave enough to be it. And for congratulations, I want to say, finally, congratulations, graduate. You did it. And, but for what you are going to do next, we thank you and we applaud you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Arnetha. So those who don't know, there's been a lot of graduations this weekend. And I've been to very many speeches. You may have the best line of any. Quiet isn't always peace. I think that's an A+ line, so thank you.